So here's another project. These are Epicure 400Ms speakers, vintage speakers from between 1965 1970 time frame. I found them on the curb during heavy trash pickup. The cases are in really good shape. The speakers are quite heavy. They're 90 pounds each. I vacuumed off the grills and I wiped down the wood. And so I was going to fire them up, but then we were going to check to see how the speakers look first. There's the Epicure badge that came off when I was vacuuming it. That'll need to be glued back on. There's the other Epicure badge down here. These speakers are pretty cool. The way they work, they actually have speakers on all four sides of the cabinet. You hook them in at the bottom right here. There's the model number. And the speaker jack is right there. So I pulled off the grill, one of the grills. I used a putty knife to get in there, and figured out that they definitely need to be refoamed. So there's the tweeter, there's the bass, the woofer on every side of the cabinet. So the deal with these speakers apparently is the placement is important. If you put them in the middle of the room, they'll sound really good. Here's one of the grills. There's the grill I took off. So you'll see it was glued on. So you've got to take the putty knife, go in there, just kind of work your way down. Actually comes off pretty easy. Probably because it's been on there for 50 years and the glue's worn out. Careful not to break it. Okay, go to the other side, do the same thing. This is a pretty stiff putty knife I'm using, so it gives me a good angle. I tried using a crowbar and it was just too big. Yep, like that, like that. Careful not to damage the brass accent pieces here. Go up and see if we can get the top. I can get the bottom. There we go. So with these, we'll have to repeat this process 8 times. Okay. Yep, same deal here. Definitely needs to be refoamed. So I think I'll order a kit. Kit's about $50. And then we'll refoam these and fire them up and see what we got. But there's no reason why they shouldn't work. We'll check in at that point. Okay, we got all the grills off. The whole process really only took 10 minutes. There are the grills over there. So all the speakers, all the woofers are the same story. They all need to be refoamed. You see here that this is just powder. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the 8 woofers out and set them up, put them away, so that, and then order the foam kit so we can start the process of refoaming them. So real easy. Just going to remove the screws. We'll unhook them once we pull them out. All right. I don't know if they're glued in or not. Doesn't look like they are, but I think I'll need something to pry them out. But the cup is still, see, it's in great shape. Driver is. Okay, so the woofers are sealed in there with glue. So it takes a little bit of prying to get them out. You have to be careful. I just used a screwdriver. You have to be careful because this wood will depress easily, so you can't really pry too hard. Just got to kind of work your way around. And then I was able to just kind of gently move the driver aside and pull it out right here like that without putting pressure on the driver. So the there's a styrofoam seal there, and it's certainly glued with some kind of glue. And then you remove two leads. When you pull it out, you notice this box it's completely packed with foam. This thing is completely sealed. I don't see a port anywhere. So this is actually a completely sealed box. So when I put these back in, I'm going to make sure I seal that up really well. Anyway, so I'm going to remove the other. I've got 2 out now. So I'll remove the other 6. And then we'll be ordering the foam kits and get these refoamed and put them back in. Well, starting this project out today, my daughter is starting to fall asleep now. She's been paying attention the whole time, but she's getting tired. Pretty funny. Today we're refoaming speakers, and you'll see right here, these are speakers that we've refoamed, so at least we've gotten through the first stage. So we're shimming up the voice coils. We'll walk through all the different steps. This is the refoam kit that I bought from somebody on eBay, and so he gives us glue as well as, let me see, I'm having trouble with the focus here. And these are the ones that are left. So I've got 3 left here. Alright, so he gave us the kit came with some foams, 8 of them, glue, brushes, shims, and an instruction book. That's a gasket from the back of one of mine. So we're going to go ahead and get started here on one of them. I'll show you what we're doing. As soon as I lock down this okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to grab one of our speakers. Okay, there it is. All right, so now, first thing you'll notice is all the old foams on there, so I got a razor blade. Not sure why we're having trouble focusing right now. Okay, so you can tell there's foam along the edge there. I apologize for the autofocus issue, but first thing I'm doing is I'm gently scraping that off. I want to make sure not to damage the paper itself, the cone. All we're trying to do here is get the foam off. You see, it comes off pretty easy. You don't have to put much pressure at all. Okay, then we just dump it all out. You got the dust cap in there, so fortunately, you know, so none of the dust is going to get into where it can cause damage. Now we are going to remove the dust cap here in a second. Okay, that looks good. Next step, you can start working on all this on the edge. Just scraping it off. Just like that. And it's all glued on there, so it takes a little work. I don't think I necessarily need to go down to the bare metal, but I'm going to clean off as much of this as I can so I can get a good seal when we glue the surround back on. Okay, work all my way around. Now what I've been doing is I just take a washcloth here and I'm dipping it in some cleaning alcohol. This is the alcohol that all evaporates. Be careful, of course, not to get it on the cone. It's going to soften up some of this glue that's still here. Now I can go back and scrape some more off. And it's really coming off. Okay. Keep going. Alright, that should be good enough. Might come back and hit that a little bit more, but this one's actually got a lot of residue on it. Okay, I think that's clean enough. So the next step is the dust cap. So I'm going to take this side of my blade is the sharp side. It's brand new and I haven't been using it except to cut these dust caps. I'm just going to hold the cone with my fingers here and I'm going to cut that dust cap as close as I can down to the bottom. Now the reason I'm doing this is because there's a voice coil down here that we're going to shim into position so that when we replace the driver or replace the foam surround, that everything moves freely up and down, that the voice coil won't be skewed one way or the other so that it won't move freely. I have to admit, last time I did a refoam, I skipped this step. But I understand it's important, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm cutting the dust cap away and I'm leaving a hinge. That way it'll attach easily. I've been very careful not to cut the paper. Or here's the blade, just attach to the magnet. Okay. So then I'm going to take these paper shims. So inside here is the voice coil. You can see it's inside of a cylinder, a cardboard cylinder there, and there's gaps. Small gaps in this case. So apparently some gaps are bigger than others depending on the maker of the speaker. So I'm going to take these shims. The number of shims again depends on the maker. In doing these, I've decided that 3 is the right number for me because it gets pretty tight pretty fast. So I'm just sliding it right in between that cardboard sleeve and the voice coil. Now I'm going to do 3. So it's going to be basically a triangle. Two. I've done 4 in some of these, but it's really a fight to get the 4th one in. And I just don't know if I'm getting a return on investment by doing that. But this last one, to get it in, I've got to tug on the cone a little bit. Slide it in.
I'm pretty sure she's not interested.
Yeah, my wife is commenting on the fact that my daughter has crashed out. Okay, so we've got 3 in there. And that's going to help us. So the reason we do that, so now this is going to slide pretty easily. I mean, it's going to stay in position now because there's no, because you have all that resistance from the shim that you've created. So when we put the surround in, when we glue the surround in, we're just going to put it where we want it, and we'll be able to glue it. It's not going to move around, which is good. And then we'll go back in and re-glue the dust cap on. So I've got 2 more left. But that's how it works. So we'll let you know when we get to we'll be back when we get to the next step. Okay, so I glued on the surrounds. Sorry, I was unable to, need both my hands. So, but they're all glued on. There are some spots where I've got a little excess glue. I believe the glue is going to dry clear, so hopefully that won't be an issue. I figured the best way to do it was to paint the glue onto the surround, paint a thin layer onto the speaker, and then center it on there and make sure you have no gaps. I just kind of patted it down with my finger all the way around. And then I smeared out as much of the excess as I could. So my daughter's here. Hey Esther, she's back. She's awake now. And anyway, all 8 of them are done. So I'll let these dry overnight, and then we will glue the surround then to the metal frame itself. So we're gonna let them glue we're gonna let them. Also, too, I read that don't worry about centering on the frame itself. What's most important is that you center on the cone, and the shims and the voice coil will make sure that it goes up and down the way it should. So if you force it to center here, then you're going to compromise that. So when it goes up and down, the voice coil is going to rub, and you don't want that to happen. So 8 done. Let these dry overnight. We'll hit it again tomorrow. Okay, last step with the refoaming. So the foam looks good on the outside. Everything glued up really nice on all of them. And now I've already finished, but so what I did was I took the shims out, and then I put the dust caps back down and just painted glue along the outside of the dust cap. So that's going to keep the dust cap in once that dries. That should dry clear, so it should look really nice. I know it doesn't look all that great now, but this will be the finished product. And all of those are done. All of those are done. So we'll let it dry overnight. And I also tested push the cone up and down. Actually, I can do it now. And it goes up and down really smooth, and it's not rubbing the voice coil. That's the most important thing. So it's tight. I mean, it's actually quite tight with that new foam surround. So I think they're going to be good as new. All right, next up will be install. Okay, I had to put new speaker posts in one of these. So those speaker posts are already installed. Those are the new ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder it all back together. I'm soldering the capacitor into the negative, to the black, and then solder the red in as well. So the speaker posts were actually missing from this, which you may have noticed earlier in the video. So here we go. I don't claim to be a great with the soldering iron. First, I'm going to put the capacitor in there. Okay. Now we're gonna put the wire in there. Gonna go ahead and set it in there like that. Drop my solder in there. Get it good. So I ordered these on speaker posts on eBay. They're really nice. They're copper. I think I'm getting that pretty well. Coming around from this side, I wish my light was better. I think that's about got it. At least for that side. We'll get it a little more because I want to make sure it's good, really good. Oh yeah, that looks good. Oh, we knocked over the phone. Okay, I think we've got that soldered in there pretty good. So I'll do the red and then put it back together. Okay, so this is the last one. I put all the other ones in. But what we're going to do, okay, so we're going to take our speakers, our foams, refoam speakers, okay, 2 leads. I'm going to apply some grease. This is dielectric grease to the leads. They go on better that way. Alright. What I'm also doing, set that aside before I put that in, taking my screws and I'm putting some gasket sealer on them, on the threads. It's going to be kind of a thread locker. Since this chipboard is old, I want to make sure these screws don't work themselves out. Sorry about the glare. We're looking right at the window here. Okay, I'm going to set that, lift that up, put that on the drill. Alright, now I'm going to line this up. I'm going to try and line up with the old holes. First I need to plug it in. This is the 8th one I've done. Every time I'm worried that I'll forget to connect the leads before I put it into the case. But I don't believe that's happened. Okay, line up with that hole. Gotta get that lead. Hey. There we go. Okay, use a little flathead screwdriver to kind of wedge it up a little bit. It's a type of wedge. Feel I can see the holes. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so put the first one in. Okay, 3 more. Sorry, I set the phone back up because I do need both hands. Again, I'm sorry for the flare. See, that one keeps spinning. That's why I put the gasket sealer in there. So that hole's a little stripped out. I'm gonna put the other 3 in. I'm gonna back that one out. I'm gonna put some more seal on it. That one's good.
Mom, I forgot my shoes.
Okay.
Okay, the other 3 are good. Get some more seal on this one just to make that really stick. Okay.
Mom, I want these shoes. Mom? Okay.
Hand tighten them. Make sure they're tight. Look good, and that's it. Last one.
And we can go swinging before we play that.
Here's the other speaker over here. And we've got on all 4 sides refoam speakers. They bounce back really nice. All right. Next step. Oh, this is the ones we put the new posts in. So yeah, that worked out. Trying to turn on the flash so you guys can see that. There you go. So those are the new speaker posts that we put in. They look great. So we're ready to fire them up. Next step, we're going to hook up the amp, test them out.